In this video, we are going to take a look at a knife made by Russian knife maker N.C.C. Custom Knives. I found this maker while looking over different Russian knife makers in general. I have a lot of access coming from Russia that I am very happy with. So I thought that maybe I should look into some knives from Russian makers as well, just because. But I've had some. I'm not gonna say that I've had some issues, but I've had some concerns, perhaps, raised by different types of Russian steels that I don't really feel like I don't really know a lot about them. But now I have some experience with. I do know Russian steels made for using access, but steels for using knives are sometimes a bit different. So I can say right away that this manufacturer, N.C.C. Custom, they do make knives in M390. They make them in Neolox and some other steels. But this one is in X105. And that is not a super steel in any way. It's more like, the equivalent to 440C. 440C, I guess most people are familiar with that steel. By now, it's been used for many years, but it's not the most common steel used in 2020, if I put it like that. Then again, with a spot on heat treatment, then you will get a fairly good steel, in my opinion. You're gonna get a blade that you can make really sharp. It's gonna have some semi-toughness to it. It's gonna have a good corrosion resistance, but edge holding or edge retention, that is where it might get a bit tricky. So you're gonna have to maintain your knife a bit more to keep it at a satisfactory sharpness level. So I just want to have that out of the way, that this knife is with a non-super steel, but that does not mean that a knife is not a good knife. So let's take a look at it then. What we have here? Well, quite simple. A box with a knife in its Kydex sheath. So here is the knife. Good, it's not falling out, so that's a good thing. And the knife itself, I'm just gonna see the Kydex again here. Good retention to the sheath. Belt loop here, so that is nice. Good. We're off to a fairly good start. So this is the N.C.C. Custom Scar. They come in a bit different handle materials and colors, and also this one is of course black stonewash, and you can of course get it with a satin blade as well. Let's see if we can get some nice. Yeah, it's tricky. So let's start right away by going over the specs of this one. So we have a total length of 229 millimeters, so 22.9 centimeters, or we can just say that it is 23 centimeters to make it easier. We have a blade length of 115 millimeters, so 11.5 centimeters, and a blade thickness. Let's see if we can get it. Let's see. A blade thickness of 4.1 millimeters. And as you can see, there's not a lot of tapering or anything going on here. It is a fairly stout blade, I'd say. The handle material, I'd say, is black G10, but with a very polished, It's got a very nice feel to it. I mean, I do have a lot of G10 handles, but this one feels a bit different. So I have size 10 in gloves, fairly large hands. This one fits my hand really well. Definitely no risk for any hot spots. This handle is comfortable. It's really comfortable. Nice. Not a lot of contouring or anything going on, but it's quite, quite comfortable. So yeah, you got your big, large lanyard hole here. For those that like using lanyards, I rarely do. Here we have the model name, the scar, and the steel use X105. On the other side we have the maker's mark, the N.C.C. custom, and here on the spine we have the made in Russia. So that's it for the markings of the blade. Quite comfortable, and the design here is a bit like well, my initial impression is like, sort of a Japanese tanto-like, but with a more upswept tip here of sorts. I like this, the looks of this one. That is why I picked this one as my first knife from N.C.C. Customs. I just wanted to see what the maker was all about, so I picked something that looked nice. Now that I have it in my possession, I really like it, and I feel like I would have liked it or loved it even more if it was perhaps in like a super steel of sorts, like CPM 3B or CPM 154, or in LMAX or something like that. But you cannot have it all. And since this one is made in X105, the equivalent to 440C, or sort of the equivalent, this might be actually in fact a bit better, and I've heard the heat treatment is really good on these ones. So I mean, it is still, still not a bad steel, and given that this is not LMAX or CPM 3B, the price is of course a lot different. I think this one was perhaps 150 euros, 140, I can't even remember, but it was not a expensive knife in any way. It was, more on the cheaper, well, not really cheap either, but not a super expensive knife regardless. So I mean, that is an aspect that is of course worth, taking into the equation when getting a knife like this. So let's do our typical sharpness test here, slice some magazine paper and see how it performs during that. So let's start by slicing some magazine paper. And like I've stated, getting this knife sharp should not be, an issue, but getting it to maintain the sharpness, that is probably where we're gonna spend some time, maybe. So let's just see what the sharpness is out of the box here. That is going to be a good, first test or impression here. So. Yeah. So it does seem to be sharp indeed. Some bonus slices here. Using the full length of the blade. So the knife is indeed sharp, so that is a good start to it. We can try some other sharpness tests later on, but this is, you know, like my initial test, because I want to see if it's, you know, just has this, you know, yeah, standard sharpness of sorts, if I can put it like that. You know, what I expect a knife to be able to do out of the box. In other aspects here, this knife is not your typical, you know, bushcraft knife or your typical kitchen knife or anything. This is more like I'm not gonna say like a combat knife or anything like that, but it is, you know, maybe not the most, you know, what should I say? Well, I want to say practical design, but it's definitely a bit combat oriented, with a strong, stout, you know, tip here to the knife for penetrating, etc. But then again, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with a knife. That, I mean, if you wanna head out into the woods and do bushcraft tasks with a dagger, I mean, you can do that. If you want to use a dagger in the kitchen, you can do that. If you want to use this for bushcrafting or whatever, you can do that to some extent. If you want to baton wood with this one, yeah, you can absolutely do that. What's going to limit you the most in that regard, though, is probably the length of the blade. Other than that, now that I think about it, this would probably do quite well batoning, for example. So I like I stated, or like I think I stated in the beginning of this video, I picked this knife because I thought it was kind of cool looking. I have a ton of knives. I don't really need more knives like that. You know, these days when I want to try a new maker or something like that, I can sometimes, you know, I can sometimes feel okay, you know, picking a knife because it looks nice or the design is kind of cool or anything like that, because you know, that is fine, because I have all the tools that I need, sort of. With that being said, if like, for example, when I picked this one up, I felt like, wow, this one feels, you know, it has great ergos, feels nice in the hand. I wouldn't mind, you know, trying a more general purpose or general outdoor knife made by the same maker. It makes it easier for me to say, like, well, now I want to try something more practical, for example, because now I feel like, you know, well, they could make a sharp knife, they could make, you know, fit and finish that looks and feels good, handle ergos, etc. So, but right now I felt like, you know, when I was going with this one and also my knife from A&R Slatus, I picked models that looked nice, because I was curious about the brand. I was curious about this brand, and now with it in my hand, I know a bit more. So I'm gonna put this one to some other use. I'm gonna take it with me on some hiking or camping trip. Same with the other one, with the A&R Slatus as well. And, you know, just mess around a bit with it. See how, you know, how does it hold up? How does it feel? I mean, the steels, this one being the X105 and the A&R Slatus being 95 X18. I wonder how, you know, how equal those steels are. So it's gonna be an interesting experience. And with this one, my A&R Slatus Reese, that one was a hidden tang. This is, of course, a full tang, as you have already seen. But I guess it might be worth pointing that out again. So yeah, that's it for the indoor action. Next time you see this knife, it will be outside. We are now out in the woods, and I brought with me my N.C.C. custom SCAR. So, as I stated in the beginning of this video, this is not your typical woods knife, but I do expect it to be able to successfully carry out a lot of the tasks you would do in the woods. Like now, for example, it's starting to get dark, and fire would be nice because it's warm and you can cook a meal or something on it. But to do that you need matches or fire steel, but you also might need some nice feather sticks to get the fire going. So we're gonna start by trying to make some feathers with this knife. Then we're gonna make some spear pointed wood sticks to put like a squirrel or something on, and then we're gonna do some notches and stuff like that to do some, like finer carving. But let's start with feather sticks here. So we now have the camera zoomed in, and we have some different types of wood here. A piece of fir here, no, pine to begin with. See how that makes for feathers. So we do get some feathers here. May not be the absolute finest, but definitely not the worst either. So this could, could be a good start for some tinder here to get a fire going. Let's try to make a spear-like stick where we can put the squirrel on. We don't have a squirrel, but if we did, let's use the same here to make this more like pointy. Thin it out a bit. So now we have a quite thin tip here. Let's do some other. Let's do a like a notch. Let's do it like here. So remove the bark. go with a bit semi-deep notch. Like that, perhaps, yeah. Smooth. So apparently you can do some random woodwork with this knife, which is what I was hoping for. And it's quite comfortable, really, you know. Maybe it could have benefited slightly from some jimping here on the top, but then again, you know, it could also become not pleasant as well. So it's like a, yeah, it has its pros and cons, you know. But I will say that this knife, if I had it with me in the woods, I would feel comfortable, you know, knowing that I can make feathers, make spears, make notches and stuff like that. I can definitely baton with this knife, no doubt about it. Look at the spine here. I mean, it's got a full thickness for like, yeah, all the way up here. And the grind here also makes it, you know, it would split wood quite nicely. The real limitation here would be the length of the blade, but you have to be selective when you pick your pieces to baton. Then again, being selective is not always the easiest when you're out and, well, you only have this as your only tool. You kind of have to take what you get in some sense. But this one, yeah, I like this one. I like both of my purchases, both the N.C.C. Custom and the AR Slatost. Both of them are proving to be enjoyable tools. Not only nice designs, but also functional. If only they were made in like CPM 3V or LMAX. Then again, I won't complain right now because, I mean, the edges, the blades, I mean, they have held up for everything I've done. I haven't done a lot, to be honest, but they have held up. And they are still, you know, they are still sharp. So, I mean, I will not complain about something that I really can't complain about right now. I will just say that I'm happy I got this blade. I'm happy I got the other one as well. Very nice. Very, very nice.